Mishnah Yudbet, 12th Mishnah. כבר למדנו לעיל, Mishnah Tet, we already explained in the 9th Mishnah, שקורבן הפסח שיצא ב-14 בניסן חוץ לחומת ירושלים, that if a Pesach sacrifice went on the 14th of Nisan out of the walls of ירושלים, הרי הוא נפסל וטעון שריפה. It becomes pasul. Now you have to burn it. הוא הדין בשר קורבן הפסח שיצא בליל הפסח חוץ למקום חבורתו. This is also the rule of flesh of the Pesach sacrifice that went out in the night of Pesach outside the place that you would eat it. We're going to discuss what it is. שהוא נאסר באכילה וטעון שריפה. At that moment it is become prohibited in eating and you need to burn it. שנאמר, לא תוציא מן הבית מן הבשר חוצה. You're not going to take out from this house the flesh outside. So if you're sitting in one place, you cannot start moving tables. Moving tables, we'll discuss. Moving houses. I'll start my Pesach over here at the in-laws and then I'll come to my father. There's no such thing. You take a thing and you eat it over there, and if you take the meat out of the house, that's it. That meat became no good. משנתנו דנה בעבר מן הפסח שיצא מקצתו חוץ למחיצתו. We're going to talk about the guy. He's sitting over there, he's thinking to go to his father-in-law or whatever, and he walks a little bit out of the house, and people say, what are you doing? No, take it out. Now, half of the meat is outside, half of the meat is inside. So he brings it back inside. Now what does he do? What's the problem? We'll see. Ever מקורבן הפסח, so you take a limb from the Pesach sacrifice, שיצא מקצתו, that you took a little bit of it, not the whole thing, just a little bit of this, חוץ למחיצתו, you took it out of the area. הנו שיצא בליל הפסח, חוץ למקום שנאכל בו. That you took it in the night of Pesach, outside of the house that you eat in it. או שיצא בערב פסח, חוץ לחומת ירושלים. Or it can even be on the 14th. How?
Before the shechting?
No, after the shechting, but before the cooking. It can be before the cooking. How? When you took it out of the city limits. Okay. Same idea. Either it's after it was cooked. In that place you have to eat it when it was cooked, roasted, not cooked. Yeah. Or before on the 14th, you took it out of Yerushalayim. That's right. It's also out. So, but only a little bit of it is out. So what do you do? והרי החלק היוצא נאסר באכילה. The part that went out is prohibited in eating. שנאמר, says, how do we know this? The verse in Shmot, ובשר בשדה טרפה לא תאכלו. And flesh in the field, which is taref, which is not kosher, you should not eat it. ודרשו חכמים, and the sages learn from this verse, כל בשר שיצא בשדה, any flesh that went out to the field, which means went out of the area that it needs to be, כלומר חוץ למחיצתו. Says, what's the examples? כגון קודשי קודשים שיצאו חוץ לעזרה, for example, sin offering that the Kohanim are supposed to eat it in the Azara, and a little bit went outside. או קדשים קלים שיצאו חוץ לחומת ירושלים, or peace offering that the person needs to eat at home, and he took it out of ירושלים. אותו הבשר היוצר טרפה הוא. So that flesh that went out of its designated area becomes not kosher. ואסור באכילה, it becomes prohibited in eating. ומכאן, from here, שצריך לחתוך אותו חלק מן הפסח שיצא חוץ למחיצתו. You need to cut this part away, and you need to burn it. But now you have a problem. What's the problem? You're not allowed to break a bone. And it's half.
Why you want to break the bone?
Because there's a half that is not good. And you're not allowed to leave the rest until morning. The rest you still have to eat. And how are you going to cut it? There's a bone right there. So what do?
Oh, you take the basar only.
Oh, so you see. That's the question. אבל הואיל ואסור לחתוך את העצם, but now you have a prohibition if you're not allowed to cut the bone. שהרי נאמר, ועצם לא תשברו בו. It says, if the bone you should not break in the Pesach sacrifice. In the kosher one, you're not allowed to. לפיכך, therefore, חותך את הבשר שיצא. You skin it. You take all the flesh from the part that went out, עד שמגיע לעצם, until he gets to the bone, וקולף, and he skins it. מן העבר את שאר הבשר שלא יצא לחוץ, שמותר באכילה. עד שמגיע לפרק, until he gets to the, where the bones attach. You know, to the bones attach, then you're allowed to cut.
הקרטליג', לא? מותר לחתוך איפה שהקרטליג'. דוגמה.
Yeah. For example, let's take my finger, there's 3 parts. So you're allowed to cut. That's right. With the connection, when the two bones attach each other. עד שמגיע לפרק, until he gets to the joint. When he gets to the joint, that's where you're allowed to cut. למקום שהעצם מחוברת לעצם אחרת וחותך, and then he cuts it. את הגידים המחברים שתי העצמות, he cuts the sinews that connect the two bones, הוא משליך את כל העבר שיצא מקצתו, and all the part that became not good, he throws it away. I think he burns it, not throws it away. ואוכל את הבשר שקלף מעליו. Actually, maybe he just throws it away. I don't know. And he eats the...
You have to burn it. ברגע שזה יצא, זה פסול.
Yeah, זה פסול. Yeah, I don't know why he says. I think also, from what I remember, is you burn it. ואוכל את הבשר שקלף מעליו, he eats the flesh that he took from it, וכל מה שיצא, he says, וכל מה שיצא לחוץ טעון שריפה. Everything that goes outside, you need to burn. אמנם הרמב"ם כותב, the Rambam writes, קולף עד הפרק, it says you skin it, you take the flesh until the joint, ומפרק העבר, and then you disjoins the limbs, שיצא מקצתו מן הפרק ומשליחו לחוץ, and you throw it outside. ומשמע שהעצם אינה טעונה שריפה. According to the Rambam, the bone itself you don't need to burn. אף על פי שעל הבשר שיצא כותב הרמב"ם שישרף. The flesh you need to burn, but not the bone. That's why it says it in this manner. מכל מקום ודאי מדובר כאן בעצם שאין בו מוך. For sure we're talking about a bone that there's no inside, because if there's an inside, it's notar. You'll have to burn it like we discussed before.
Why would it be notar? You don't need it.
You do. You don't have to break it.
You can break the עצם.
But you're supposed to eat it, so this is called a notar, and you'll have to burn it until the next morning.
So you have to eat the inside of the bones inside the korban?
You don't have to eat it, but it's an edible part.
It's notar.
It's an edible part. And you can't, technically you can get to it because you're allowed to burn. So you'll have to burn it. That's why we learned that. Yeah, that's notar. שהרי בעצם יש בו מוח ששנינו לעיל משנה י', we already learned in משנה י', שטעונה שריפה, that we need to burn the bones. So this is in Pesach sacrifice. This is what you do in the Pesach sacrifice. What about all the other sacrifices? All the other sacrifices where you have the same problem, where the sacrifice went out of the limit, whatever the limit is for that sacrifice, then you don't have this problem. Because you can just cut it. There's no prohibition on breaking bones in sacrifices. It's only in the Pesach. ובמקדשים, and in all the other sacrifices, בשאר קודשים שיצאו חוץ מחמצתם, all the other sacrifices that went out of their area, קוצץ את החלק שיצא בקופיץ. He can cut the part that went out with a קופיץ, סכין גדולה, like an axe. You know, like these butcher knives, booms. שאין בו משום שבירת העצם, because in those things you don't worry about breaking bones. שאין מוזרים בקודשים אחרים על שבירת עצם. There's no warning in other sacrifices on breaking a bone. הילקח חותך את הבשר והעצם כאחד, therefore you're allowed to cut the meat and the bone like one, של אותו חלק שיצא, for that part that went out. Another problem is, now we're going to discuss what is considered to be outside. What is outside? In other words, you started walking outside of the door. Where is outside in the door? I want to know. Exactly, where is outside of the door? Which part of the mashkof?
Oh, the inner one, the outer maybe.
Yeah. So now
still...
it's going to discuss. מן האגף ולפנים כלפנים. From the agaf to the inside is considered to be inside. We don't know what agaf is. Let's see. לאחרי שלמדנו ברישה, after we learned in the beginning part, דין עבר שיצא מקצתו חוץ למחיצתו, we learned the rule, what happens to a sacrifice that went out of its boundary, באה משנתנו ללמד עד איזה מקום נידון כפנים. So it says, and where is the inside of their house? Where does the outside of the house start? אגף, what is אגף? נקרא מקום הגפת הדלת, שהיא נוקשת שם שסוגרים אותה. So if you got the door, it's the thing that stops it from moving. So that thing, until that thing is the inside. From that thing is the outside. So in other words, the door width is outside already. Yeah? Wherever because you open it.
The door width is inside.
It depends if the door, if it depends if it's an outside door or is an inside door. If it's an outside door, so it depends on the door. You're right. It depends on the door. מקום נידון כפי, אגף הוא נקרא מקום אגפת הדלת. It's a place where the door shuts, שהיא נוקשת שם שסוגרים אותה, where it knocks when you close it. ומאותו מקום ולפנים, and from that place to the inside, היינו מהשפה הפנימית של עובי הפתח עד מקום הנקישה, from the inside until the place of the bumping, דינו כלפנים, we call that inside. מן האגף ולחוץ כלחוץ, and from that point onwards to the outside, it is considered to be outside. ממקום נקישת הדלת ולחוץ, דינו כלחוץ. From that place to the outside, it's outside. והאגף עצמו, and the thing itself, שהוא עובי הפתח, that this is the width of the opening, דינו כלחוץ. It means, we're going to consider it like outside. So, if it's a small little thing, if it's a wide thing, I wonder what's going to be. It can be very wide, and then it can be very wide, and then the whole thing is going to be outside. Yeah.
If a deret is here, so it's outside.
So it depends how thick you're going to make it. Yeah. But it's bad for you whichever way. Actually, from the inside, no, it's bad for you whichever way.
Well,
from the agaf.
You do have one like this, and your door is here, and it goes out. You can go all the way to where it's closed.
Yeah.
As all this is considered in.
Depends how you build it. בגמרא אמרו, the Gemara they said, שבשערי ירושלים, we're going to have different rules. We're going to see in houses or in city walls. We'll see. בגמרא אמרו שבשערי ירושלים, that in the gates of ירושלים, האגף עצמו דינו כלחוץ. The agaf itself is like the outside. ולפי שלא נתקדש עוביים, because their thickness did not become holy. But ואילו בשערי העזרה, but the gates of the בית המקדש, of the temple, נתקדש עוביים. Their width is inside, considered. ולכן דיף האגף עצמו כלפנים, and then the width of it is going to be considered inside. חוץ משער ניקנור, except the gate of ניקנור. What did I שדינו כלחוץ. ניקנור is considered to be outside. Why ניקנור is special? וטעם הדברים מבואר שם, it says ניקנור is different. Why? מפני מה לא נתקדשו שערי ירושלים. So it says, so how come the gates of Yerushalayim did not become holy? Which means to the inside. Why are you saying the gates of Yerushalayim are to the outside and not to the inside? It says it actually should be to the inside. But they didn't do it to the inside for specific reasons. Logically, it should always be to the inside. Yeah, we also learned in Orla. You remember when the tree, the inside goes to the in. So it says, why no? מפני שמצורעים מגינים תחתיהם בחמה, מפני החמה ובגשמים, מפני הגשמים. It says, because the lepers used to sit outside of the city gates. And they used to sit underneath it already. So they said, no. So this is all impure now. We're not going to consider this part. Because they couldn't stop them. You know, says, you want us to see the limits? Yeah, exactly. They weren't careful not to. So it says, so they consider that, okay, because of the lepers, we're going to consider it impure. ומפני מה לא נתקדש שער ניקנור. Okay, that's understood why the city gates. And what about the Nicanor gate? That's already inside. Everybody is pure over there. מפני שמצורעים עומדים שם, because even Nicanor gate, the lepers would stand over there in order to become pure. That was just before they became pure. ביום שמיני לספירתם, in the 8th day to their counting, לאחר שנתרפאו וגילחו וטבלו, אלא שעדיין מחוסרי כפרה הם. They stood over there and they were already pure, they just needed to bring the korban. So they were not 100, they were 99.9% pure until the korban. So since the Mitzura'im were still there was some kind of impurity in the gates of Nicanor, they said the whole gate is not good. ומכניסים בהונות ידיהם, and they would used to put the fingers of their hands, לתת עליהם מדם האשם, to put on them from the blood of the sin offering, and then you'll be able to go in. So they will, like this, and that will be make it impure, then you can not get.
Once it does it, the whole can go in.
That's right. ויש מפרשים, and there are those who explain, עניין האגף, what is אגף? שבאמצע האסקופה העליונה, that it is the middle of the top part, היינו המשקוף, שבפתח בחציה שכנגד חוץ, in the half that is on the outside. היו עושים בניין או עץ בולט על פני כל הרוחב, they would make like a thing on top of the whole top, הפתח שהדלת דופקת עליה. Exactly the same thing, the only difference is it on the top or on the side. והוא נקרא הגוף, and this is called הגוף. וכשהדלת נסגרת נשאר הגוף עד חצי העובר לכותל לפנים, and then it remains until the halfway through the wall to the inside. והדלת מבדילה בין חיצון לפנימי, the door is separated between the outside and the inside. החלונות שבחומת ירושלים, the windows that in the walls of ירושלים, ושבחומת העזרה, and that in the courtyard, ועובי החומה, and the thickness of the wall itself, עובי ראשו החומה, דינם כלפנים. So if you walk on the walls of ירושלים, you're fine.
You're inside.
You're inside. והוא הדין לחלונות, and this is also the rule, לחלונות ולעובי הכתלים for windows and the thickness of the walls, שבבית, that is in the house, לעניין יציאת פסח מן הבית שנאכל בו. When you take out the Pesach sacrifice from the house that you're eating in it. בגמרא מבואר, the Gemara explains, שמדובר כאן בחלונות של החומה, שאין גבוהות מקרקע העזרה. We're talking about windows that are on the same level of the ground of the courtyard. ואף בעניין עובי החומה, and also when we're talking about the thickness of the wall, מדובר בחומה הקטנה שהיה לפנים מהחומה הגדולה. We're talking about the small wall that was inside the upper wall, because on the...
חומה של בית המקדש.
Yeah. שהייתה נמוכה בשווה לקרקע העזרה. It was very low. It was just as a signpost. It wasn't as a wall. אבל החלונות וראשי החומות שהם גבוהים מקרקע העזרה, but everything that is higher than 10 טפחים, let's call it, higher than this from here onwards, דינם כגגות. They're considered to be like roofs. וקיים עלן, and we have a rule, שגגות ועליות לא נתקדשו לאכילת קודשים. And we have a rule that we cannot use the roofs for eating holies. ואף לעניין מקום אכילת הפסח. It's the same thing, since we don't use it for holies, we don't also use roofs for eating Pesach. So you cannot use the window of the choma to sit on it and eat your Pesach sacrifice. Even though it's considered to be inside. Since we have the rule because of the gag. Yeah. כותב הרמב"ם, and this is what the Rambam אמר, הגגות והעליות אינם בכלל הבית. It says the roofs are not considered to be part of the house.
So even a guy, if you live in a house, you can go on the roof and eat it.
That's right. And usually, that's right. And usually at that time, people would eat on the roofs, but not the Pesach sacrifice. The Pesach sacrifice was not allowed to be eaten on the roof.
Sukkot, you can go on the roof.
Yeah, Sukkot.
No, they used to do a sukkah on the roof.
Ooh, good.
That's what I remember.
Yeah. Now you're giving me a hard time in thinking, because Sukkot you'll bring the Korban Chagiga, and you probably ate the Korban Chagiga in the Sukkah. So, that's, I mean, right? So I'm not sure. I think it's every sacrifice. You're learning it's not every sacrifice, it's just for Pesach. I'm not sure, are you? He does write. Yeah, but we have the problem of any sacrifice going out of the boundary.
No, זה לא consider going out of the boundary.
If
God is not considered out.
Look what the Rambam says. וקיים עלן, it's the third line or fourth line, קיים עלן שגגות ועליות לא נתקדשו לאכילת קדשים. Not just Pesach. So maybe you can't do it.
You can do sukkah.
I never even thought about it. But I think practically they did. And now I have a question. You brought a very good question now.